This tutorial is by Cooper Collier, lead programmer with WatersWebWorks.com. Please visit our TeamDesk expert listing if you need assistance or have any questions, and we'll be happy to help.
I've actually made a cheat sheet for you, and we have 15 commands that I'll show you how to use real quick. And technically, since two of the commands are the same, just done in a different way, we're talking 13 things that's going to get you most of everything you're ever going to want to know. So let's go back and look here. And on the basic places where we can use HTML is when we're making a dashboard. We can actually add text to the dashboard like this, and we can say it's HTML text, and then it'll use HTML. Or when we make a form, that's what I'm looking at here, is one of the forms. In this box I've put some text in there, so when you're adding columns you could do new text, and that's what I did here. Now right now this text is simply text. I haven't said it's HTML. I've been going along there and I say, hey everybody, do it right. Okay, that didn't seem to work very well for me, so I'm going to go in here and put or else, because everyone pays attention when you say or else. Now I save that, and let's go back and look over here, and I'm going to refresh it, and there's the or else. But I want that to be more defined. That's just not there. So that's where suddenly our HTML comes into effect. So if we go over here and we change it to HTML, now we can start working with it using HTML code. First things first is if I save it just like that, something funny happens. And it's funny like in weird, because suddenly my or else is no longer where I put it. Okay, that's because the first thing to know is HTML and CSS, which work together, ignore your enters, they ignore spaces. It does not care. That, I save that, does not put any spaces. Okay, the reason is because this language was written by programmers, and programmers would like to have their code spelled out for them in ways that's easy for them to see, not necessarily for you. So in HTML, you need to enter your enters with a code, and the code for that is this. Looks like a little arrow, BR, and a slash, like that. That is a return. It does not have to be in between like this, it just has to be where you want it. So that is the same as putting it right there. Both of those will work, but if we save that, there it is. Very, very basic. You just need to remember every time you want your text to return, you need to do a BR. That's inside a text. Now, we want this stuff to stand out a little bit more, so let's make it bold. There are different ways to make this bold, but one of the very simple, very basic, is to put a B tag in it. And whenever we put a tag, and a tag is anything between the arrows, we have to make sure we end the tag. So everything between here and here now is going to be bold, because the little b stands for bold. Save. Over here, I made it bold. That is the shortcut for making it bold. I might want to make it italic instead. In that case, I just put I's instead of B's and save it. There, now it's italic. Now I might want to make it bold and italic. Okay, yes, we can add more than one tag to the same thing. So What we want to avoid though is skipping them up like this. We don't want to do this. Okay, it would actually work, but it does bizarre things sometimes and is bad code. So what we want to do is make sure that the bold ends the bold before we end the italics. So we can nest them together, but we want to try to keep them lined up correctly, just for our own sanity. But we've done that, and then we go over there and look at it, and now we have bold and italic. Now honestly, that's the bare basics, and if all you ever want to do is just to line things up and make some stuff bold in your HTML, you're good. You can stop now. But let's continue on and do some more things, because what we really want to do is we want this or else to really stand out. We want it bigger, and we want it a different color. Now to do that, we need to get out of the old style. This is old style HTML, and we're just going to get rid of this altogether. And now what we want to do is we want to start styling. And to start styling, we need styles work with tags. And one of the tags we can use is a span tag, just like that. And right here, we can close the span tag. So first, like that. Now, this will do absolutely nothing. All this is saying is this could be start here, end here. Why did they call it span? No idea. It does absolutely nothing except identify the section of text in between them. So once I save this, absolutely nothing's going to happen. It's just text, just like before. But now what we want to do is start adding our CSS. Now, CSS goes right in here. We go style equals quote, quote. And our CSS goes in this area right here, in between those quotes. So all we need to do is learn a few CSS commands, such as color. We want to change the color of the font, so we just do color, and then a colon, and then the color we want. I recommend using just basic colors, red. Okay, there are you can use hex codes for your colors, but I recommend using the color name simply because it's easier to read. To get your color names, it's in my cheat sheet for you, but I'm going to jump over here, and this is the color names. Okay, so it's easier to remember though a color name like cyan instead of 00FFFFF every time you want to use it, or dark blue. This is it. So for beginners, I highly recommend just find the name and use the name, and that way every time you want to make something red, it's red, or you want to make it navy, it's navy, and that's all you have to remember. So we're just going to make it red, just like that, and that makes the color of everything for this tag right here. So oops, this section here is going to turn red. That's it. Now, we can make it red and bold, but we can do this like we did before, but we really won't want to. What we want to do now is, now that we're using a style, we should stay with the style. So we put the semicolon in there, and then we can put another style. So font, W-E-I-G-H-T, bold is how we make our, and don't forget the semicolon, and that makes the text bold. It makes the font weight bold. Okay. Yes, I did show you how to use the B before, and now I'm showing you this way. And it does get confusing when there's more than one way, but if all you wanted to do is make the text bold, using the B tags much faster than typing all this. So I still use the B and the I tag when all I want to do is make things bold. But once I start using the style, I stick with the style across the board. So it's font weight bold and font size. Oops, I did that wrong. It's font dash size colon, and then we give it a size. And I recommend pixels. So you just stick with pixels. Some programmers are going to say pixels aren't good to use, but it's easy to understand. So always put the px behind it. You need to do that or you'll get unexpected results. So 12px. Save. Now, what happens? It's exactly the same size. Why is that? That's because we're already using 12px. So let's go make it bigger. Let's go with 18. That's going to make it, and see what that does. 18 pix. Save. Let's hope I typed everything right. Boom. Now they're going to get the message, aren't they? We made a big or else. Nobody's going to ignore that. They're going to put everything in correctly from now on. And get a little pause there in TeamDesk because of my browser. What else can we do in here? So far we've used the span just to get this section, and that's good. But we can do much more with TeamDesk because we can also use another command you can use. We've used the span. What we can also use is the div. The div is it makes boxes is what it does. It really could have been called box, but they didn't call it box. They called it div. So we're stuck with div. But div is just a container that we can put things into. So what happens here though is once we start using divs, it's good to use them everywhere. So if I put a div here, style equals, and then put it right there, IV like that. Instead of using span, I can actually use div. So I just changed my span to a div, just like that. And I save that. Poof. It added another extra space. Now, why did it do that? Well, the reason it did that was because the div, which is a box, actually will stack on top of each other. And what I did is I made two boxes. So the BR is unneeded because I've separated my text into two separate boxes. And that is confusing. So let me show you how that works. One of the things you can do is make a border around your box. So I'm going to go in here in the style and make, say, border, colon, solid, black. I'm going to make it 2 pixels wide. So this is telling me to make a border that is a solid line. It's going to be a black line. And it's going to be 2 pixels. 2 pixels wide. I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to put it down here around this other text. So I'll just put it in there and leave the text the same color. Everything's right. Now when I save it, look at this. There. So when we look at it this way, I made 2 boxes. One box here, one box here, and put my text inside of each box. And then in this area right here, between the boxes, that's where that BR is. That's why they put that extra. So divs make boxes that you can put things in. And by their default nature, the boxes are going to stack on top of each other. So we can make more than one. But we can have fun with the boxes. Because a box, one of these boxes, does not actually have to have text in it. We can change this, take the BR out, save it, F5, Now our boxes are stacked on top of each other without the BR, and with the borders there that looks horrible. If we were to take the borders out, then it will look fine. So I'm going to take that border out of there, and I'm going to take that border away from there. Look what we have. Just what we had before. But now, by making a div, we can do one thing we couldn't easily do before. I can go and add one more command here, which is background color, and I'm going to make it yellow. Like that. There. So I made it that way. Or divs let us do all sorts of things. I can go and say, take that background color out of there. I'm going to take it out, and I'm going to make another div. I'm going to give it a background color, yellow, but I also want to give it a height because I'm not going to put any text in it. I'm going to make it 15px, like that, and close it. And I'm not going to put anything inside the tags. I'm just going to do that. Pretty neat, huh? And I'm going to take that whole thing. I'm going to make another one down there. So now I have 4 boxes stacked on each other. What is that going to give us? There. Put some lines, put the or else in between, with more lines there. They can't miss it. So, the 13 commands that you have now. A div is a box, and you put things in between it. Spans are breaking your text up. So, in the span, we can use it in different ways. It works slightly different than that. Of course, we use it already. So I want that. I want to highlight, enter all data right there, or all the data. So spans work without stacking things. So I can do span style equals this in it, and then so we've stuck this tag in here around the all, but it's just identifying that I want to change something about the all, and in this case I want to change the background color of it. So in effect, I'm going to highlight the word all. Poof. See? Now they know all the data right there. So we use spans. BR are for line returns when we need them. B's and I's are bold and italic. And then inside of our style, inside the quotes, we can use a border. That makes a border around it. And we just need to tell it solid, a color, and how wide we want the border. A margin. A margin is the area around the box. And the padding is the area inside the box before it can add any text. Let's look at padding real quick. So in this case, if we do please enter your and I go and make a border solid black 1px, like that. Save. And do F5 here. Notice how the font is touching the edges. It's really close on there. And I want some spacing between my line, my border, because sometimes we'll put things inside of a box. So I'll go in here and that's what the padding does for us. It does padding, and we do 5px, let's say, that. So I added 5px right there. Say save. See, I gave ourselves some padding in between our text and the edges of our box. The margins would give us some space outside the box. Just the same. Height and width are used for manually setting the height and the width. So in our case here, if we look on this one here, the width is just set to the width of the frame outside of it. So maybe I don't want the width that wide. So I can manually set it by going here and doing style width, and we're going to make the width 50px. See what that does. Oof, I crunched it right on up to 50px, just like that. Interesting. So the height and the width lets us manually adjust it. Otherwise, the system's just going to adjust it as it feels like doing it. So I'm going to take that out. And then we have our commands for color, background color, font, size, the weight, and italic is font style italic. And those are the 13 or 15, however you want to count them, examples or codes that you're going to need. And that's it. One other thing, if you hadn't noticed, when you're entering your commands into here, what's called the CSS codes in here, the order you put them in does not matter. You can put them in any order. The one thing though is the last one, going from left to right, up to down, is what counts. So that means, let's look at this one. I got style, background color is equal to pink. If I put it in more than once, let's say, which it'll let me do that, and I can make it blue. So the last one is the one that really counts. So if I was to do that, it changes to blue. So any order but the last command is what's going to count. So that was the last one in that section. And the links to this style sheet will be in appropriate places down below the video or on the website, and you can grab that and use it at any time to get what you need to do. Bottom of which is some examples, so have at it, and that will cover it for now.